The door clicked shut behind Henry, and the house fell into a silence that felt heavier than any eulogy. The scent of lilies from the funeral still clung to his jacket, mingling with the faint smell of his wife's lavender soap. He stood in the dim hallway, staring at the hat she used to hang on the brass hook, the one she never left the house without. In the kitchen, a single envelope waited on the table, cream paper, his name written in an unfamiliar hand. He didn't touch it. Not yet. The clink of the radiator filled the room, uneven and tired, like the way he'd been breathing all week. Footsteps approached from the living room. His grandson, Adam, stepped in with the easy confidence of a man who'd never known hunger or unpaid bills. Tailored suit, polished shoes, a phone in one hand. "So," Adam said, settling into a chair, "is the 8,000 a month helping you? Grandma used to say it was enough." He grinned, but there was something behind it. A weight Henry recognized. Henry eased into the chair across from him, the wood creaking under his weight. "It kept things going," he replied, voice low. Adam leaned forward, elbows on the table. "You know, with things changing now, maybe we should talk about the trust. Grandma handled it, but, well, she's not here anymore. We can be more flexible." Henry's eyes flickered to the envelope. The room seemed smaller. The trust, his wife's careful shield over their savings, had been untouchable while she lived. Her absence now made it feel like an unlocked door in a rough neighborhood. Adam's voice softened, but it carried a sharpened edge. "You want to keep the family together, right? This is just family business." Henry's fingers drummed on the table. The envelope waited. He wasn't sure if it held an answer, or the start of a problem he wasn't ready to face. The radiator hissed again, long and drawn out, like a warning. Henry sat at the head of the dining table that night, the chair beside him painfully empty. The glow from the chandelier above seemed harsher than usual, throwing shadows across the silverware his wife used to polish before every family meal. Adam returned the next day, this time without a suit, just a sweater and that same unshakable ease. He brought coffee, setting a paper cup in front of Henry as if that would soften the conversation. "Grandpa," Adam began, voice carrying the practiced calm of someone rehearsing their lines. "I'm not saying you give it all away. Just loosen the structure. We can reinvest. I can make sure it grows. It's what Grandma would have wanted, for us to benefit while we're young enough to enjoy it." Henry sipped the bitter coffee, his hand steady but his jaw tight. "She wanted security," he said quietly, "not speed." Adam smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Security is what I'm offering. But locking it up forever? That's not living. You're sitting on a fortune, and we're all—" He stopped himself, leaning back with a sigh. "We're all making sacrifices." The word sacrifices hit Henry like a misplaced insult. His wife had worked 2 jobs in their early years so they could buy the very house Adam was sitting in. She'd skipped vacations, mended clothes, and quietly gone without. Sacrifices Adam had never witnessed. Later that evening, Henry called his daughter, hoping for balance. But her tone matched her son's. "Dad, Adam's trying to help. You don't want to cause tension over money, do you?" "Not now." The weight in Henry's chest grew heavier. In the quiet after the call, he stared at the photo on the mantel. His wife in her garden, smiling as if the world were still kind. He whispered to her picture. "They don't understand, do they?" The house offered no reply, only the faint hum of the refrigerator and the echo of a family line he wasn't sure he could hold together much longer. 2 mornings later, Henry found the package on his porch, no return address. Just his name, written in the same unfamiliar hand as the envelope still untouched on the kitchen table. It wasn't heavy, but something inside shifted when he lifted it. He carried it to the kitchen, setting it down where the morning light sliced across the wood. The cardboard was plain except for 3 small holes punched along one side. Deliberate, neat, unsettling. For a long moment, he didn't move. The quiet hum of the refrigerator sounded too loud. He fetched a knife from the drawer, hesitated, then cut the tape carefully. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, was a leather-bound folder. His breath caught when he opened it. Photocopies of financial documents, signatures in his name that he hadn't signed, and a transfer form for the trust. It was already filled out. All it needed was his signature. The bottom was a sticky note in Adam's handwriting. "We can take care of this today if you're ready." The folder felt heavier than it should. Henry closed it slowly, his fingers lingering on the cool leather. The phone rang, slicing through the stillness. Unknown number. Against his better judgment, he answered. A calm voice, a stranger's, spoke. "Mr. Whitaker? I'm calling to confirm the meeting at 3 o'clock. We'll have the documents ready for you to sign." Henry's stomach tightened. "I didn't schedule a meeting." A pause. "Your grandson assured us you were aware. He said you'd be attending." Henry set the phone down without another word. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the branches against the window. For the first time since the funeral, his grief gave way to something else. Cold, deliberate anger. Adam had crossed a line. And now, Henry knew there would be no going back to pretending this was just family business. That night, Henry sat alone in the den, the lamp casting a soft pool of light over the worn armchair that had been his wife's favorite spot. Her quilt, the one she made in their first year of marriage, was draped neatly over the back, untouched since she passed. He reached for it now, pulling it into his lap, the faint scent of her perfume still clinging to the fabric. The folder sat on the coffee table in front of him, its presence like a third person in the room. He didn't open it. Instead, his eyes drifted to a framed photograph on the shelf. A summer afternoon decades ago, his wife kneeling in the garden, Adam, no more than 7, standing proudly beside the first tomato plant he'd ever grown. She'd been so proud of him that day. He remembered her words later that evening, as they washed dishes side by side. "We give them roots, Henry, but we can't choose how they use their wings." The memory cut deeper than he expected. She had always believed in the good inside people, even when they tested her patience. But she'd also been the one to insist on locking the trust. "It's not about mistrust," she had told him. "It's about protection, for them and for us." Henry leaned back, closing his eyes. The grief was still there, sharp and constant, but beneath it, a slow clarity began to take shape. This wasn't about the money. It was about honoring the years of sacrifice she had made, the life they'd built together, and the dignity she'd fought to preserve. He folded the quilt over the arm of the chair, stood, and crossed to the mantel. Resting his hand on her photograph, he whispered, "I know what I have to do." The house stayed silent, but for the first time in days, Henry felt steadier. As if she'd heard him point. 2 days later, Henry sat across from his attorney in a quiet office overlooking the town square. The leather folder rested between them, unopened now, but no less significant. "I want the trust restructured," Henry said, his voice even. "Permanent restrictions. No early withdrawals, no loopholes. If anyone wants to change it after I'm gone, they can't." The attorney studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Once this is filed, it's ironclad." "Are you sure?" Henry thought of the garden photograph, of his wife's steady hands pressing soil around the base of a young tomato plant. "I'm sure." The pen felt heavy in his grip, but his signature came without hesitation. With each stroke of ink, a weight seemed to lift, not the grief, but the gnawing fear of being cornered again. That afternoon, he returned home to find Adam's car in the driveway. His grandson was waiting on the porch, phone in hand, impatience written in every line of his posture. "Grandpa," Adam said, forcing a smile. "So, did you sign?" Henry met his eyes, calm and unshaken. "Yes, it's done." Relief flickered across Adam's face, until Henry added, "And it will stay locked. For good." Adam's smile faltered. You didn't have to." "I did," Henry interrupted, his tone final. "Because this was never about the money. It was about protecting what your grandmother built. And I won't let anyone, not even you, take that away." He stepped past Adam, unlocked the door, and went inside. The click of the lock behind him was quiet, but it felt like the closing of a chapter. That evening, Henry sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee. The lilies had wilted, the house was still, and the air felt lighter. Outside, the wind moved through the trees, and somewhere, in that stillness, he felt her presence, not in the grief, but in the peace that followed.